Dun dun dun. Guys, we are once again back here in the attic of 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 the barn house on my dad's farm or whatever. And that means a couple of things. First of all, it's super fucking warm in here. It has to be like 35 degrees or something in here, Celsius. So it's really fucking warm. I don't know if you can see it on my face, but I'm having a hard time here, okay? Like, my body type is not made for this sort of heat. But it's okay, because this is a good place to tell stories. But also, because that's what we're gonna do in this video. But also, it means that there might be some sounds from chickens and stuff like that, dogs, various animals, okay? You might hear them throughout the video. Don't be alerted, it's completely normal. We are at a farm, so it is to be expected that there are sounds like that. But with that being said, okay, what is gonna happen in this video, guys? I'll tell you, okay? So calm down. Well, I don't know why, like, I'm going so, like, taking the most weird way to say what I want to say, but listen. Today is the first video where I'm gonna start a new series, okay? And I'm gonna call this series Story Time. Woo! I know, it's a pretty fucked up name. And it's not a fucked up name, but it's it's a name that is good because it's true to what it will deliver, okay? And basically, it's just gonna be a series where I tell stories about my life. Maybe it's something that, you know, I learned something from. Maybe it's something that I didn't learn something from. Maybe it's something that is sad. Maybe it's something that is funny. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just stories from my life. And I think it could be cool because, you know, one, I like to fucking yap about these sort of things. Two, I can practice my storytelling skills because I'm not really good at that, I think. And three, you guys get to know me a little bit better, which I think is something that I definitely want, okay? Because I want my community, my subscribers to know me better, okay? So this marks the first episode of Story Time, okay? And this episode, we're basically gonna, or like this story, sort of say, is basically gonna be a two-part story, okay? And we're gonna tell the first part today, and then we're gonna tell the second part in another video. And I think I'm gonna record it tomorrow. I'm not sure, so I'm not gonna promise anything, but it's basically a two-part story, and they are connected by that they sort of are about the same thing, okay? They are sort of about the same thing, even though they are from completely different eras of my life. And this time around, there is something that I learned from both of these stories, something that they have in common, and it is something that I have carried with me throughout my life ever since, and something that I feel like I practice a lot, okay? And that is basically taking risks, okay? Going for it, you know? I don't know how to say it, but, you know, taking a risk, going for it, fucking doing it, you know, not pussying out, basically. Maybe that's a poor way to phrase it, but you get what I mean. Going for something, okay? And both of these stories are about me going for something, but they have very different endings. One is a little bit more happy, one is a little bit more... it's a little bit more sad or something. I don't know, I don't really feel like it's sad, that sad, but I guess you could say that for the sake of my point or whatever. But that's important as well, because at the end, they both taught me something. Okay, wait, sorry. I just have something in my fucking nose. So if I do that throughout the story, just know that it's it's normal. Fuck, I just... Okay, wait, I'm gonna have to cut this out. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. But yeah, I'm gonna tell these two stories, and I'm gonna tell the first one today. Okay. And the first story, it goes back way back, okay? This was a long time ago. Way back when Axel used to go to kindergarten. What? What? Did Axel go to kindergarten? I know. It's pretty fucked up. It's pretty weird. But yes, like I myself, much like other children, went to kindergarten. It's a bit of a shocker to some, probably not to a lot of people, but I did go to kindergarten. Okay, that's something I did, and my kindergarten was a pretty. I think I've realized that it was a pretty unique place in a lot of ways. Okay, and it has to do with what we were doing at that kindergarten, but also the layout of the kindergarten. So let's start out with the layout of the kindergarten. Basically, this kindergarten was located in the middle of the city because that's where I grew up in the early stage of my life. It was in the middle of the city, so once you, or like how you got to this kindergarten was that you basically had to enter through what you would call like a normal entryway into an apartment building in the city, basically. A normal like door with a code and everything. That's how you entered into the kindergarten, and then you would go through this long sort of tunnel, and then you would come to a big courtyard surrounded by apartment houses like this. Like there was no way out. There was only this big door where you had to put the code to access to that courtyard. At least I think. Probably now that I think about it, there are probably more ways to access it. But that's how I remember it. And once you got inside, you had this big courtyard with asphalt pretty much everywhere. There were some like areas where there was some flowers growing. Maybe there was one or two trees in some places. But then the outstanding features, or maybe that's not the right word, but the unique features, maybe I should say, was that there was a big like round area in the middle of this courtyard, which kind of worked like a roundabout, I guess you could say. But it was just a big fenced in area with green grass growing in it and a tree, I think. And then surrounding it, it was asphalt, sort of like this. And then over here you also had an area where there was some sandboxes, so you could play, a little park area sort of, that you could also play around in. And that was basically the outside. But then you also had the inside of the kindergarten. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too sure about the inside. I don't remember it exactly, but I sort of remember it. It had all the normal stuff that a kindergarten has. Okay, it had the lunch room, or maybe this isn't normal at all, but this is what it had. It had a lunch room, it had a resting room, it had sort of a hallway, it had a kitchen. Obviously we were never in the kitchen, the children. But then it also had a playroom. Actually it had two playrooms, like normal playrooms, where you would have toys, things that you could build towers with, Legos, all that sort of stuff. Also these mats that had cities, but also roads, so that you could drive around with a car on them. It had all those sorts of things, but it also had another playroom where there was, I don't know how to describe this in English, but basically imagine big cushions, right? Sort of like a jump castle, but not really. Just really big cushions that you could build houses from, and like a castle and shit like that. It was crazy. That's probably what I think is the more unique part about that kindergarten, is that it had that room, which was basically this big room with a bunch of cushions that you could just fucking build stuff with and play around in. So in itself, I think it was a pretty unique kindergarten. But it was also unique because of what we used to do, how we used to play in this kindergarten. And that is sort of one of the central pillars of this story, okay? But I'm gonna come to that later. First, I wanna paint you the picture of how my life was at this kindergarten, okay? Basically, you're looking at Axel, around 3, 4, 5 years old, something like that, okay? Didn't really think about much. Life hadn't set in yet, okay? I wasn't worried about the troubles of the world. I wasn't worried about a lot of things. Even if there was trouble in my life, I don't think I realized it because I just accepted it as normal, okay? You don't really think about if you see, you know, your parent doing something, you don't think like, wow, that's not something a normal parent would do, you know, that's not something you think about at that age. So I was just living life, basically having the time of my life. And I was going at this I was going to this kindergarten, and as I remember it, I had one friend that I hung out with more than the rest of the people there. I have one guy that I remember, and I'm not gonna say his real name, not that I think it matters, but I'm just not gonna use real names. I'm gonna replace the real names. So for this guy, I'm gonna call him Freddy, okay? And me and Freddy, we were pretty similar, okay? We like to run fast. We like to play, you know, these sort of things were stupid stuff, okay? I remember something that we would do is that this kindergarten would also have in this, or did also have in this outside area, um, I don't know, there is a word for it in English, but basically it's small bicycles with 3 wheels that you could just drive around, and it had a bunch of them, okay? There were so many of them, so all the kids could have them while you were playing outside. There was also one that was a little bit cooler. I'm gonna talk about more about that. But we basically had these bicycles, okay, little like 3-wheelers or something that we would drive around. And me and Freddy, we would drive these things. And one thing that we would do is we would choose something, and we would drive at it full speed and then stop and then see who could get the closest to it. And whoever got to the closest to it won, okay? And it's a really stupid game, but we thought it was funny. And there was, like I said, there was another sort of 3-wheeler that wasn't really a 3-wheeler. It had 4 wheels, and it was sort of like a cart. It was square. It was a little bit heavier, but it was also more well oiled or something, so you could just go faster in it. And I remember one time I was driving that fast one, and we were doing that game, and we were stopping in front of this like thing where bicycles park, you know, because it was a courtyard. People were living there as well, so people would park their bikes. So I like underestimated how fast I was going. I absolutely slammed with this thing because it was so fast into the bicycle parking area, and I crashed headfirst into that area, and I got like a scar on my forehead here. I don't know if you can see it. It's like somewhere here. I don't know. Probably you can't see it because it was such a long time ago, but I have a scar here from it. Another example of something me and Freddy would do is that we would one time do sort of the same principle, I guess, but we found there was a window, and we went up to this window and we started punching, you know, punching towards the window, and whoever could get the closest to the window without actually touching it would win. And what happened was that fuck, I said his name. Okay, damn. That's probably gonna happen a lot. I'm just gonna bleep out his name, okay? I said his name, but Freddy, what happened was that he punched the window, and he actually punched it because he didn't stop in time, and he broke the entire window, and he got glass all over his hand, was bleeding a lot, you know, chaotic, or whatever. Chaotic. Chaotic is such a meme word, but it was chaotic, okay? It was chaotic, and this was pretty much what would happen. This is how the days would play out, okay? We were just living life like that, me and Freddy, and we were having the time of our life. Now, before I tell you about the sort of unique playing game that we used to play at my kindergarten, I need to introduce you to another character, okay? And this character, I'm a little bit unsure of when they actually entered the picture. I'm unsure if they started at the kindergarten at a later point than me, or if they were always there. It doesn't really matter too much for the sake of the story, but I'm just unsure of when they actually got into the picture. And that character was a girl, okay? And we're gonna call this girl Emma. And there's a few things that I remember about Emma, okay? She was blonde, she had blonde hair, it was pretty short, and she was also tall, but most importantly, she was fast. Damn, a girl that is fast? Jeez. It was crazy, guys. I don't know how much or like how things played out at your kindergarten, but basically, I feel like throughout most of my childhood, just being fast meant that you were cool, okay? And at the time, I didn't really think of it as, no, you have to be a guy and fast to be cool, or like whatever, you know? Like, I just thought that fast people were cool, okay? Because that basically meant that you were strong almost. And Emma, she was fast and she had blonde hair and she was tall. And after a while, you know, I thought she was cool. So after a while, I actually developed a little bit of a crush on Emma. And I don't know if that's like not normal to do at this age. I've heard people say that they don't even think about that stuff until they're like, I don't know, 12, 10, something like that. But I definitely started thinking about it at that age. And I started growing a crush on this girl, Emma. And I thought she was cool because she was fast, tall, blonde, whatever, all of those things. But still, I kept my distance, okay? Because I didn't want to be all embarrassing, you know, at that age as well. You're like, ew, girls, you know, like, ew, I don't want to hang out with girls. And girls are like, ew, guys. Nah, that's not for me, you know? So I didn't want to admit it to her or to anyone for that matter. So I kept my distance, but sometimes we would play, sometimes, you know, la la la. And I would sort of just admire her from a distance, which sounds kind of creepy, but you know what I mean. And yeah, things were just moving on as usual, okay? Me and Freddie, we were doing our crazy shit. Emma, she was there. I was like, damn, she's pretty, she's fast, whatever. That was kind of like the base foundation of this kindergarten, you know, the outside, the inside, me, Freddie, Emma. Okay, that's what I remember. That's what's important for this story. Now, for this unique play game that I've been teasing about, okay, what are you talking about, Axel? What actually went on with this with this playing game? And the reason that I'm calling it a weird playing game is that I don't really know if this is something that a lot of people do, okay, or that a lot of people did. But we did it at my kindergarten, and I'm not really sure where we got it from, okay? But basically, we played a game called Kiss Tag. And as if you could put 1 and 2 together, it's basically a game of tag where you tag someone, they chase everybody else, then they tag someone, that person is it, and then they chase everybody else. But it was with kisses instead. So what you would do is you would chase someone, and you wouldn't kiss someone like on the mouth or a cheek or something like that, because you know that that would be fucked up, you know. So you like kiss them on the shoulder or on the arm, something like that, and then they would be it. So we played this kiss tag, and like, I don't know if that's weird or not, but we didn't think about it. We were just children. And I really think it just has something to do with this sort of like, ew, girls, you know, like, ew, a girl is gonna kiss me, I gotta run, you know, and then the opposite way around. And it was just like that, I think. That's sort of where this game stemmed from. But yeah, so we used to play that game, okay, from every now and then. It wouldn't be like every day. It would be sometimes we would play that game. And when usually I would just, you know, maybe if I was it, I would just tag someone, and then I would just run trying to prove that I'm the fastest. I don't want to be it. I would just like be super try hard, okay? But now that this sort of thing with Emma had started to happen, things were starting to get a little bit different, okay? Because maybe sometimes Emma would be it. And if Emma was it, maybe I wouldn't try as hard to run away, because you know, maybe I want a little kiss on the shoulder from Emma, because then I could go away and be like, yes, you know, secretly, of course, I could be like, yes, I got a kiss from Emma. Fuck, I still have something in my nose. Sorry about that. I could go away and I could be like, yes, you know, I got a kiss from Emma. And then equally, if I were it, I would, you know, maybe spend some more time chasing Emma, but of course I would do it in a discreet way, so it wouldn't be obvious that I liked her. Okay, so now you know sort of how things were going and what was happening at this kindergarten, usually, okay? But now we need to introduce a life-changing, a completely plot-altering event, okay? Because now there was someone new that was gonna start at the kindergarten. What the fuck? Who's this person, this character that like started going to the kindergarten as well? I'm gonna explain it to you, okay? This person had a few attributes, okay? First of all, he was a guy. He was a guy. He was tall. Jeez, he was tall and a guy. That he was a guy doesn't really matter, but he was tall. Or it does matter, but fuck, okay, I'm getting distracted. He was tall. He was fast. Damn, he was tall and fast as well. But not only that, he had red hair. Damn! He had red hair as well, and he was tall and fast as well. Jesus. That's what my reaction was, okay? I tried to like replicate it because that's how I felt about this guy. And this guy, we're just gonna call him Eric, okay? Eric. That's a very Swedish name, but we're just gonna call him Eric. He was tall, he was fast, and he had red hair. And for most of us, I think, definitely for me, this was the first time ever I had seen a person with like ginger hair. And I was like, damn, you know, it kind of looks like his hair is fire. And I thought it was really cool. And I think a lot of people thought it was really cool. So basically, Eric was the shit when he started in our kindergarten. And at first, things were pretty cool, you know. I became friends with Eric pretty fast because, you know, I was also pretty tall, pretty fast. You know, I was maybe not the tallest, but I was definitely fast, okay? And me and Freddie would become friends with Eric, and we would play, and, you know, he would join us on our antics and stuff like that. And things were cool, okay? Things were cool. But then I started noticing something, okay? Something was happening here in front of my eyes. Basically, I started seeing that Eric and Emma, they were starting, like, there was something there, okay? Emma, she was acting a little bit funny around Eric, and Eric was acting a little bit funny around Emma. So I could tell that, you know, pretty much both of them liked each other. But of course, because they were just like me, they didn't want to show it too much because it was embarrassing. Ew, girl. Nah, man. Nah, that's not for me, you know? Guy? No, sorry, bro. Not gonna happen. So, you know, they didn't want to show it, but it was pretty obvious that they were starting to like each other. And of course, this was not good for me. This was not good for 4-year-old Axel, because 4-year-old Axel, he liked Emma, you know? So this was not good. But at the same time, 4-year-old Axel didn't want to do too much about this as well, because he didn't want to show everyone that he liked Emma, and he thought it was embarrassing. And girls, you know, like, nah, man, no thank you. So he didn't really do much about it. And things just kind of developed. Emma and Eric started hanging out more. Axel started seeing it. You know, he got more and more worried about this. Or maybe I should just start saying that I got more worried about this, because really it's me. I don't know why I just randomly started talking in third person. But I started getting more and more worried about this, how this situation was developing. And I remember vividly when this kind of like developed into a real problem for me, where I was like, damn, okay, no, my chances might be over. Because I remember walking into this, you know, castle house area that I told you about, and Emma and Eric were playing a game, okay? And I don't know if you have this game where you're from, but basically in Sweden we have a game called Mom, Dad and Children. And the game is about simulating a family, okay? Someone is the mom, someone is the dad, someone is a child, someone is a sister, blah, blah, blah. And you're just playing family, okay? And if someone is playing mom and if someone is playing dad, you know, that's kind of a big step, you know? And Eric was playing dad and Emma was playing mom. And I was like, oh shit, you know. And then like Emma's friend or something was playing a child, and I was like, damn, okay, things might be over for me here, you know. They definitely like each other, and I was devastated. Okay, I was devastated. I was like, fuck, you know, my life is over. I maybe not that deep, you know, because I was still a child, but I didn't like it, you know. It made me sad. But still, I didn't do anything about it. So fast forward a little bit. For the first time in quite a long time, it was time to play Kiss Tag. Okay, we hadn't played it in a long time. In fact, we hadn't played it ever since Eric started at our kindergarten. Okay, so this was the first time that Eric was ever playing this game, and it started out as a pretty normal game. Okay, me and Freddy, we were just, you know, fucking off, you know, going away, hiding. Someone got tagged, someone got tagged again, someone got tagged again, and then it happened. Emma got tagged. And here is where things get a little bit messy, okay? I don't really remember exactly what happened. But as I remember it, everyone saw this, and everyone thought, oh, okay, but we know that Emma likes Eric, so we're not gonna get kissed now, because Emma is probably just gonna go to Eric. So everyone gathered around, like basically somewhere in the center of this courtyard, everyone gathered around, and everyone was standing around Eric and Emma. And they were just standing in front of each other. And I remember me, Freddy, and some other guy were sitting on a bench. Like we basically had it was a bench like this, and there was people around like this, and then it was Eric and Emma standing here in the middle. So basically we had the front row seats to this event, okay? And they were standing there in front of each other. And I don't remember what they said, but probably Emma said something like that. She said something like I'm gonna kiss you now, or something, or like I want to kiss you, something like that. And Eric was like, okay. And you know, you could see that they both wanted it too. And we were just sitting there like I remember I was saying like, oh, this is so nice. We don't ever have to worry about getting kiss tagged again, because now they're just gonna kiss each other. But in my heart, oh my God, I was burning, because my sweet Emma, I was losing her right in front of my eyes, but I couldn't do anything because my pride kept me back. It held me back. So I was sitting there, and I remember this almost as in slow motion, okay? Everybody else was there, you know, around. I was sitting there with my friends, and I remember them, like their heads like this, you know, moving closer and closer, like super. I remember it so vividly as well, like his red hair, you know, her blonde hair. And it was like, it wasn't like it was the first kiss ever, you know, so no one even knew how the fuck to do it. So they were basically just like, you know, going like that because they didn't know how to do it. So I remember their fucking faces just going like this, moving closer and closer and closer to each other. And as they got closer and closer to each other, like I was panicking on the inside more and more and more, until, you know, they got basically so close to standing up, or like to kissing each other, that I just panicked and I stood up and I said, no! And suddenly everyone went quiet. Both of them looked at me, like Eric and Emma, like completely shocked or whatever, because I just said it so loudly. And then I like blacked out completely, ran, started running. It was a short distance, but I basically ran in between them, shoved them to the sides, and I like ran through them, shoved them to the sides, and I looked back and I think I said something like, Emma, I like you, I don't want you to kiss Eric. And then like I just stood there for like a second or something, and everyone was just like super quiet. And then I just ran away, okay? I just panicked and I ran away, okay? And after this is also was crazy, because after this I don't remember much, okay? I just remember that exact scene. I remember it so clearly, like what happened, you know? But basically I ran away, and that's a theme that actually happened throughout my life a lot after, which is completely unrelated to this story. But whenever I got stressed or panicked as a child, I would just run away, preferably just lock myself into the toilet, read some manga, just sit in the toilet for hours. Like, it was some sort of panic mechanism. I don't know what the fuck it was, but I would just run away, okay? So I just fucking ran away. And after this, it's really unclear what happened, okay? I don't even know if they just kissed each other or something after that, or whatever the fuck happened. Like, I don't know. But what I do remember is that sometime, I don't know if it was the same day, if it was the day after, it was 2 days after, whatever the fuck it was, if it was a weekend, so maybe it was a Monday, at some point after this, okay, when everything had kind of calmed down, and I wasn't in panic mode anymore. Maybe it was later that day, I don't know, okay? Wait, I got a burp coming up. Just relax, wait. Damn, I've been inhaling so much air because the story is just so intense. But I don't know when, okay? But it doesn't really matter. Maybe it matters if you're gonna write a fucking book about this, but I don't remember, okay? But what happened was that I was in one of the playrooms, and I remember that Emma's friend came up to me, and she was like, "Emma wants to talk to you." And I was like, okay. Like, what's gonna happen now, you know? Like, what the fuck is gonna happen now? What is gonna happen now? What does she want to say? And I wish I remember what happened in between this. Maybe something bad happened and I've just shoved it away, but I really don't remember. But I got called to this other room, this castle building fucking room or whatever, where Emma was waiting for me. So I remember I got into that room and it was completely empty, apart from Emma that was sitting there. And I sort of looked at her friend, and she looked at me, and I turned and faced towards Emma, and I started walking up to her, okay? And I don't know what went through my head at this point. I have no idea. But basically, I sat down at Emma's side, and she asked me, "Do you want to play mom, dad, and children with me?" Oh my god! Hell no, bro. He fucking did it. The boy did it. Somehow he did it, okay? He fucking, I don't know what happened, okay? This is where this story becomes unclear. But after this, basically Emma and I, Emma started liking me. I don't know why. I don't know the logic behind this, but I remember that part where, we were playing mom, dad, and children quickly after that. And then another day, later, like, not while playing kiss tag or anything, I asked her, like, if she wanted to kiss me, and then we, like, went around the corner on the courtyard, and we, like, kissed each other on the mouth. And that was my first kiss ever. And we were just standing there for, like, 10 minutes kissing each other. But I don't, like, maybe that's weird to do in kindergarten. I don't know, okay? But that's what happened, okay? That's what happened, and that is basically the whole story. That, like, I managed to get Emma, okay? But why did I tell this story? Was it just to flex that I won a girl in kindergarten? No, it wasn't to do that. It was because that moment, I think at least, is so pivotal in my life, because it was at such a young age, and it was a moment where I learned that taking a chance on something, taking a risk, doing something that, might not be comfortable, that might not, that might be awkward, that might be, like, people might be hating on you for it, like, maybe it's not the right thing, like, people are saying, like, "Oh my god, you're gonna do that, that's so cringe," whatever the fuck, you know what I mean, this sort of situation, that it still can be worth taking the risk, okay? Because I fucking got the girl, I got Emma, okay? And it taught me that it's worth to take the risk, okay? And I think from that moment on, probably not only because of that moment, probably because also my dad has raised me in a sort of way where I think he prioritizes making me learn to take risks and stuff like that, for better or worse, okay? Taking risks might not always end up good, okay? And that's good. That has something to do with the second story, okay? That I'm gonna tell you, the next story that I'm gonna tell you. But that's what I wanted to say with this story, okay? That I think is the first moment that I remember we're taking a risk, we're doing something crazy, something fucked up, something that, you know, I don't even know, I can't get the words for it, but I hope you, like, I hope the feeling that I'm trying to portray, that you understand, okay? That it can actually pay off. And I think I learned, like, I internalized that for the rest of my life. And that has led to so many crazy things, so many more stories that I'm gonna tell you, okay, at a later point. Not only the story tomorrow, but just more stories in general. And I'm gonna tie it together with part 2 in the next story, okay? But for now, we're just gonna leave it at that. The first moment, I don't know if you could call it the first Chad moment of Axel's life, but maybe that's the right way to call it. The first Chad moment of my life, okay? I won the girl, I confessed my love for her, and it paid off. And that was it, okay? After kindergarten, though, we started in different schools, so we went on our separate ways. So I lost my love there, but yeah, that's how that story ended, okay? And other than that, there's also something else that I want to say, and that is that we're not gonna have comment of the video for these story videos, because they're sort of about this story, right? And I don't want to just interrupt the story in the middle of the video and doing it at the end of the beginning. Maybe we could do it, but I think it's better if we just keep these story videos just the story, okay? So that is part 1, guys, of the story. Yeah, it was it's one of the core memories that I have with me from my childhood, and it's part 1 of learning to take risks, learning to shoot your shot, and going for things in life, okay? And that was one side of the coin. But I was gonna say tomorrow, but in the next video we're gonna see the other side of the coin, okay? When things go wrong. When we take a risk and things go wrong. But yeah, that's all for this video, guys. I like telling stories, and I think it's gonna be fun to tell the next one in the next video as well. And I hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, subscribe if you want to join the band, my community. Also, if you're watching this and you haven't seen it, there's a website on my YouTube banner now called isub.com, which you can check out. It's basically a welcome website for people that have subscribed to my channel. And if you haven't watched it, you can go and check out the video that you can find there, because yeah, it's just a video that I made welcoming my subscribers. But anyway, guys, it's so fucking warm in this room. It's not even a room, an attic or whatever. And I'm gonna end the video here, okay? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, this video is gonna be roughly edited because I'm at my dad's farm, so I don't have access to my computer. Anyway, take care, guys. I love you. See you in the next video, and goodbye.